Hi, I'm John Manning, and this is Steve Koski, retired archaeologist of Sarasota County. We're at the Friends Fest 2025 today, the first annual, and Steve has done so much remarkable archaeological work in Sarasota County, so I'd like him to speak a little bit today. And the first question I have is, Steve, what brought you to Sarasota County, besides fame and fortune?
Fame and fortune. I came for the gold. I first came to, in 1985, I was a graduate research assistant at Arizona State, and Ray Rupe had a NSF grant to look for underwater shell middens off the Venice coast. In '85, I met Sonny Cockrell, who was working at Warm Mineral Springs. Sonny invited me to come to Warm Mineral Springs to work with him, and in February of 1986, I came to work with Sonny Cockrell at Warm Mineral Springs. Spent several years there. 1991, I met Dr. John Gifford at University of Miami working at Little Salt Spring. He asked me if I wanted to work for him. By then, Warm Mineral Springs project had ended, and I started working at Little Salt Spring as an underwater archaeologist, and also worked for a local archaeological consulting firm, Archaeological Consultants in Sarasota, for 17 years off and on, and then went full-time to University of Miami, Little Salt Spring, as a resident research associate and underwater archaeologist until 2013. Until that project, my professor retired, and then I went to the county from 16 to 24, and now I still have a part-time management position at Little Salt Spring, where I am enjoying my part-time, semi-retired status that gives me more opportunity to come and set up for events like this.
Exactly so. Where did the name Little Salt Springs come from?
Little Salt Spring was named, Warm Mineral Springs used to be called Salt Spring, and then it was Big Salt. So Warm Mineral Springs was Big Salt Spring because it was pretty heavily saline, as conate seawater with 16 parts per thousand, fresh Gulf waters 35 parts per thousand. But Little Salt Spring is slightly saline. You can barely taste salt. It's basically fresh water with 2.75 parts per thousand mineralization. So it just became known as Little Salt Spring, compared with Big Salt Spring, which was Warm Mineral Springs.
There you go. So it really gets down to the minerals.
It does. And Warm Mineral Springs is a geothermal spring known for its warm therapeutic water that originates from a cave at 220 feet, and in the back of that cave, about 120 feet in laterally, there's a shear vent fissure that goes down 3,000 feet. Woo! Where the geothermal water enters the spring.
When you were exploring and mapping out these two springs, how did you overcome what I can only imagine is incredible fear when you're in such dark places?
People have asked me that, and I've worked at 45 feet at Warm Mineral Springs. I worked at the bottom of Warm Mineral Springs, and I worked at the 90-foot ledge in the basin of Little Salt Spring, and really I remember just being surrounded by muck in Warm Mineral Springs, and I literally started thinking that it's just like being in my living room watching TV. I was that comfortable, if you can believe that.
Oh, I can believe it, Steve. I know you. But it is a remarkable skill set, because a lot of people would be claustrophobic.
You've got to get used to it. Claustrophobia, you have to get over. The main thing is not to panic. Once you panic, that's when things go crazy. I remember being at 90 feet in a crevice at Little Salt Spring saying, wow, I really gotta get out of here now. And then it took a split tenth of a second, and then it was like, no, I'm fine. Nothing's going on. I can still breathe. So it's just being calm. But I've been very fortunate in my career to work at both Warm Mineral Springs, Little Salt Spring, Sarasota County, archaeological consultants. I gained a wealth of experience and knowledge, and I've been very fortunate and humbled to say I appreciate all the work that I've done here.
Well, I've known you for some time now, and I can tell everyone who may be seeing this, he is an extraordinary archaeologist. We were all sad when he retired, understandably, but still. One last question. Do you have a single activity, item or event that jumps to your memory and says that was really something?
I've got quite a few of those really special National Geographic experiences, different discoveries, different locations where I've been covering the unit at the bottom of Wall Mineral Springs at 160 feet with lights and just the way the water was, and it was just like being hovering on the moon. It was great. So there's a number of experiences. What I do want to say, it's just incredible to play such an important role for Sarasota County. Sarasota
Yes.
County has such an amazing amount of historical resources, both archaeological and architectural and structural. And in fact, we're here today where the Johnson camp once was, that used to house workers for the celery fields.
Yes.
So we're on a historic site, and you can't go down a street without looking at some of Sarasota County's great history. And I was fortunate to be part of that history in the administration of Sarasota County's Historic Preservation Ordinance, Chapter 66, which is one of only a few that counties have. And it's been great to be part of Sarasota County's history.
Well, it's been great to know you. And I am so thankful that you are the very first storyteller of the Friend Fest 2025.
Yay!
Happy retirement.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure.